Welcome to the Left Coast Live. It is Wednesday, July 24th. I am your host, Dieter McBusiness, joined as always by Stat Pat Stateless Patriot. We are California lefties talking to you about all the insanity that has been going on these last few days. The last time we were with you, Biden had successfully dropped out. Kamala was the presumptive replacement. We had hopes for the open convention, but those hopes have since been dashed. Stat Pat, it seems like Kamala will take over for Joe as the DNC nominee, and the conversation, like we predicted, has shifted towards who her VP is going to be.
Yeah, dude, it's been quite a crazy past. What is it, 72 hours now or so? Since the announcement of Biden dropping out and endorsing Kamala Harris as the Democratic candidate, it's it's I'm not the one who feels this way, but it does feel like a giant weight has been like lifted off my mind. Like just like the dread of Biden's ego keeping him in the race and just doubling down, and just nobody getting through to him until it was just too much to ignore. And now like we're just seeing just massive energy, massive shift in just the attitude of the Democratic Party as well as the base. Fundraising records have been broken. Like nearly $500 million, if not more at this point, has been fundraised for Kamala Harris and the Harris
Just like we
campaign.
predicted.
Yeah. Like actually, yeah.
Just like we predicted. We said that the American public likes bold leadership. They like decisiveness. You could argue very easily that George W. Bush, who had started a war that most of the country was against, won re-election in 2004 because of decisiveness.
Yeah.
It was like, yeah, maybe he hasn't made every right decision, but the guy makes decisions. And lo and behold, after many people were banging on Biden's door, he finally gives in and relinquishes control and lets go of the Democratic National Convention's nominee for president. And I think the big takeaway might be that Biden or I don't want to give them too much credit because the timing actually worked out really well.
Yeah.
Biden, they let the Republicans do their RNC convention, right? And it's all about Biden this, Biden sucks, let's go Brandon, the whole nine. And now he's no longer the nominee, so all their convention was basically a waste. And we got to talk about at some point J.D. Vance and how Trump is not a fan and how his sons talked him into it, and it's just this hilarious story. But before we move off from Kamala taking over for Biden or Biden dropping out, what do you think will be so two things. One is the extent to which the mainstream media applauded Joe Biden for exiting this race was ridiculous. I saw Van Jones crying over Joe Biden ending his political career. Give me a break, dude. Right. Genocide Joe. You're crying for Genocide Joe.
Yeah.
Similarly, there was talk of an open convention. Obama talked about there being a, quote, process at the convention this year.
Yeah.
In his public response to Joe dropping out. That process has since been transformed by the mainstream media into an audition for vice president. And that's that's disappointing. But I get it now that we're a couple of days removed. They basically didn't want to have 3 weeks of it hanging out there. Who's the nominee going to be? What's the convention going to be like? Everybody grilling them on that. Jamie Harrison would have been completely in over his head with that responsibility.
Right.
So we'll have some sort of for show process, like we talked about in the last stream. If you recall, it was a bit of a cathartic stream for me because I come in
Yeah.
all excited about this open convention, and then by the end of it, I'm like, wait a second, Stat Pat, you're getting me back to reality here. They're just gonna hand it to Kamala, and it's all gonna be a show, and because
Yeah.
everyone's just gonna be so glad that it's not Biden.
Yeah. No, I've because I've been diving deep, the past few days, just seeing just like the general reaction, the general response, and the fact that like now that this is this is reality now, like this is all underway. The campaign has hit the ground running, and yeah, I've even learned in the past 24, 48 hours, just how just smart of a decision this was, and just how they considered there were multiple things they had to consider before putting this all into motion. And the fact that it's all going so smoothly, with flying colors, like we talked about the record breaking fundraising numbers and whatnot, it's astounding. And like I said, I've been learning a bit more. Kamala Harris is actually to the left of Biden. She's a lot more progressive than I actually initially considered or even gave her credit for. So is she going to pick someone with just the same approach to things, or is she going to balance it out and pick more like a safe establishment moderate type, which and it's kind of anybody's guess at this point, but it's just the speculation at this point is a very, very interesting thing.
Yeah, I think they'll probably go with a straight white guy because
No, of
they
course.
figure they've got a woman and a minority on the ticket. So let's talk about Kamala's VP options.
Yeah.
A lot of people were hoping for something along the lines of a progressive to kind of as something of a handout to people like us, but that's not going to happen. The closest thing that would happen would be J.B. Pritzker, governor
Right.
of Illinois, but I don't think he would be the best choice. I'd like to see them go a little bit younger. I'd like anything that gets us past the baby boomer generation, politically speaking, is a good thing. Anything
Yeah.
that gets them out of positions of power is good for America.
Yeah.
So, I mean, everyone's talking about Andy Bashir. He's kind of a Nepo baby in Kentucky. Very articulate, fun, would be fun for my generation.
Yeah.
He's pretty close to my age. But I don't know. Let you go ahead and lead this.
So
Where are your
I
thoughts on that?
I actually have
Kamala sweepstakes.
yeah, I have a top 8 list. That's Clementine behind me. She's gonna be my little guest. I ruled out 3
Oh, cool.
names that were floated around. So JB Pritzker, as much as I'd like him and he'd be great for the job, I don't think he's going to do it. He's already signaled that he's not interested in pursuing the VP slot. And the same goes for Gavin Newsom and Gretchen Whitmer, who were floated as the potential replacements for Biden. But even at that point, they were nah, I'm not interested. It's Biden's deal or whatever. So those 3 are not on my list. So I have a top 8, and I guess I'll start from the bottom up. At number 8, I have Roy Cooper. Probably the most conservative option on the list, but also probably one of the more likely picks for Kamala Harris, because he is a bit more the moderate type. He is one of the more conservative picks, and they have been in meetings. They have been engaging with one another as of recent. My number 7 pick is Josh Shapiro, another moderate type, but a bit more of a likelier pick, I guess you could say. Governor of Pennsylvania, and Pennsylvania is a must-win for Democrats. So it would make sense that they go that way, even though they probably won't even need him to win Pennsylvania, depending on how the campaign goes the next few months. But we'll see. I mean, because a lot can change from now till until the convention. Like, who knows? Maybe Kamala Harris is not even like fully settled on a pick. There are quite a few in the run for the position. Number 6 for me is Mark Kelly. I think it would be that would be a really good pick if he wasn't the senator of Arizona, and the Democrats really need that seat. They can't afford for him to leave that spot. Even though, who's governor of Arizona right now? Do you know? Do you happen to know off the top of your head? Because I don't know off the top of my head.
I'll look it up though.
Yeah, because if it's a Democratic governor, then there
Katie Hobbs
is
Democrat.
Okay,
Katie Hobbs.
okay.
She's Democrat.
Okay, for sure.
Democrat.
So, if that's the case, then she would just pick someone to fill Mark Kelly's spot. So I don't feel as bad about him taking the VP slot, even though. So it would mean that the Democrats would basically keep that seat in the Senate because the governor would appoint someone to that spot, similar to how Newsom appointed someone for Dianne Feinstein's spot. Number 5 would be Pete Buttigieg. Name recognition. He's already, he's very much out there. He's actually like really good rhetorically. I guess he was on Bill Maher recently and made like a really he came off as pretty compelling. But who knows? He might just transition into her cabinet from Biden's cabinet. 4, I got Wes Moore. All black ticket. He comes off as a rather progressive governor. I think that wouldn't be such a bad choice. But all 5 of those so far are kind of like far from my top 3, and my top 3 are pretty far removed from like each other in terms of my personal favorability. For number 3, I think Julian Castro would actually be a really good pick because he's very rhetorically effective. He's very strong in immigration. He can counter a lot of the GOP bullshit because that is their crutch. Like when it comes to rhetoric, when it comes to messaging, you can take a look at the way that Trump the way that they killed that immigration bill, that reform bill, or whatever the hell, that would have handled a lot of the border issues, that basically gave Republicans a lot of what they were asking for. But Trump was like, no, kill this bill because I want to be able to campaign on the border and on immigration and whatnot. So I think Julian Castro will be very, very strong in that regard. After that, number 2 for me, Andy Beshear. I think he's an attack dog. I think because he's already making shots at J.D. Vance and what a clown he is. I think like he would be rhetorically effective on it, just in that regard as well. He would also appeal to a lot of Appalachia, coming from being the governor of Kentucky and whatnot. And I think he does have like as big of a chance as Roy Cooper and Josh Shapiro for her potential pick. And if anyone, I hope it's him. But what I really, really, really wish would be Kamala's pick for VP. My number 1 is Tim Walz, the governor of Minnesota. Probably like easily the most progressive governor in the country. Yeah. Like big time victorious record. Got so much done with just a 1-seat majority. And if you've seen like the interviews that he's done recently on media, like on Fox News, on MSNBC, he's just on point and he's nailing it. He's calling out the weirdness of the GOP and J.D. Vance and whatnot, openly calling out Trump, getting under Trump's skin to the point where like Trump even like posted about it on Truth Social and whatnot. I think he would be an excellent pick, probably like by far the best pick that Kamala Harris could go for. It remains to be seen if she will like choose to actually go that way, but we'll see. That's my breakdown, my personal ranking of potential picks for VP.
Okay, so I think I'm with you on the top 2.
Yeah.
I would rather see Watts than sorry, is it Watts? What's his name?
Waltz.
Minnesota.
Yeah, WALZ is how you do it.
Waltz.
Yeah.
Walls. Yeah, Walls. Yeah, Tim
Yeah.
Walls. Yeah, everyone's talking about him on Morning Joe.
Yeah.
And his appearance there, and he did it really well. Should we just watch that really quick?
Sure. Yeah.
All
Let's
right,
go
let's
for
just watch that. Really.
Let's go for it.
Let's bring this in because everyone's talking about it. I mean, this is the guy.
Mm-hmm.
Here, hold on. Let me make sure I get this up. Hold on 1 second.
Governor Tim Walz. He is the chair of the Democratic Governors Association and the co-chair of the DNC Rules Committee, which tomorrow will set the dates for the nominating process. Thanks so much for being with us. Donnie Deutsch is with us on set in New York and has the first question. Donnie.
Governor, nice to chat with you. Minnesota, which for decades, of course, has gone very blue. All of a sudden, the Republicans think that it could be in play, that it could be a toss-up state. Obviously, the Democrats in tremendous transition over the last few days. There'll be a response to that.
Yeah, a lot of transition in the right way, Donnie. Good to see you all this morning. I agree with everything JB said, except best place in America to be. Sitting here in Minneapolis today, the excitement is palatable. And look, the Rules Committee is going to get this thing done. As JB said, there's huge excitement. If it's any indication, they're back engaged. You can feel it. The donors are back. And look, Minnesota's always closer than people think. But look, since 72, we've made the right pick. We made the right pick with Mondale. We're going to stick with making sure that that President Harris will come through Minnesota. We'll deliver our 10 electoral votes.
Governor, it's Lauren Leader. I wanted to ask you, I think that Minnesota is such an interesting sort of analogy for the country, right? You've got the big cities, you've got rural parts of urban voters in your state that you think that the Harris campaign can use to really engage some parts of America that have really turned quite red, particularly the rural parts of the country.
The Midwest is the key. And look, I represented, Joe was talking about Steve King. My district bordered Steve King's, and on the other side was Michelle Bachmann. What I know is that people like J.D. Vance know nothing about small town America. My town had 400 people in it, 24 kids in my graduating class, 12 were cousins, and he gets it all wrong. It's not about hate. It's not about collapsing in. The golden rule there is mind your own damn business. Their policies are what destroyed rural America. They've divided us. They're in our exam rooms. They're together around the shared values, strong public schools, strong labor unions that create the middle class, healthcare that's affordable and accessible. Those are the things. You look what they're talking about. They went right to division. They did not give us a plan on health care. Donald Trump talked about infrastructure. Joe Biden and Kamala Harris built bridges, built roads. So I think this is going back to the bread and butter, getting away from this division. We do not like what has happened where we can't even go to Thanksgiving dinner with our uncle because you end up in some weird fight that is unnecessary.
That's so true.
I think bringing
so on
back
point.
people together. Well, it's true. These guys are just weird. And it's, you know, they're running for He-Man Women Haters Club or something. That's what they go at. That's not what people are interested in. And there is angst because robber barons like J.D. Vance and Donald Trump gutted the Midwest, told us we didn't do that. They talk about private schools. Where in the heck are you going to find a private school in a town of 400? Those are public schools. Those are great teachers that are out there making a difference and gave us an opportunity to succeed. That angst that J.D. Vance talks about in Hillbilly Elegy, none of my hillbilly cousins went to Yale, and none of them went on to be venture capitalists or whatever. It's not who people really are. So I think that message doesn't resonate.
Yeah.
You saw it yesterday. The energy out here exploded. We all break fundraising records, but that's not what I look at. Door knocks are full. Phone banks are full. People are talking about what's possible. We are finally on offense about an America where we're all together. So good. Have Orban down.
It is so.
Florida.
It is astounding.
Come out here and stand in a Planned Parenthood.
Just like just the whole turnaround
in St. Paul. That's what people
like
want to see.
After the decision was made, like it is like it's like the entire like momentum and energy has shifted. I wouldn't be surprised, give it a few weeks or so, if Kamala Harris starts pulling ahead in multiple polls nationally. I wouldn't be surprised if we start to see shifts in the swing states as well.
That's the momentum.
Yeah, and not to mention, like he is digging into the whole GOP apparatus and just the clown show that it is right now. He is so effective at like sticking it to them in a way that like it resonates, like going after JD Vance and the hillbilly cousins and whatnot. They never went to Yale. It speaks a lot to what a mistake Trump made with making JD Vance his vice presidential pick, because I've been watching a lot of secular talk, and I think his analysis on it is just so on point.
Yeah. Now, so I think the new standard. So here, let me. We'll go back. We'll finish him up in a second, but
sure.
Well, Dick Cheney was the perfect vice president. I think the understanding of the vice presidential role has changed significantly in our lifetime, and now, or at least it should continue to change. And now I think, you want someone different. This is a guy right here in Governor Walz that will probably not be running for president in 8 years if Kamala is reelected, if he is part of his her ticket and he gets reelected.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
I mean, that's what should be the standards. I think we want vice presidents where it's kind of either a spoken or unspoken agreement that you will not run for president in 8 years. I think that's a really good way to go about it, because then the vice president looks useful to the current president, and it's not like the vice president's looking out for himself or herself at every turn. If you have a vice president, it's like, yeah, I'm here to support this administration. I'm not worried about my own administration, my eventual administration.
No, yeah,
and the handoff usually doesn't go well.
Right. Yeah, it definitely depends on like the dynamics of the administration as well. Like Bill Clinton passing off to Al Gore, I think is it would have been much better for the country, to say the least. But because you can get a whole hell of a lot done in 8 years. But what if you want to go beyond that? What if you have like such a bold vision for you're taking the country in a more progressive direction, and the only way that you can actually continue that is your vice president carries the torch, so to speak. Because if your approach to problem solving is so good, then that will be incorporated into the next administration, regardless of who it is, because competitors, there will be a natural organic competition after 2 terms. Yeah.
That the other players in the party will compete over that leadership position. And if you did a good job in your 2 terms as president, then your approach to problem solving will survive.
Yeah, I agree.
Unfortunately, there is a term limit on the presidency. I actually think I'm probably in the minority in this opinion, but I don't think there should be a term limit on the presidency. I think it should be like certain states where they have no term limits on governor. Because if you find a leader that works, stick with him. Think about how much better off the country would have been had Barack Obama had a 3rd term. I have my issues with Barack Obama, but at least he had a hell of a lot more intelligence and stability and functionality than, say, George W. Bush. So it would completely change. It doesn't matter. We're not living in that world. That will probably never change in our lifetime. It's 2 terms and you're done. But I think there is value in the vice presidency that was tapped into during the George W. Bush administration and has not since been tapped into, provided by the premise that the given vice president will not run for president.
Yeah.
It's like this distraction. It was a distraction with Clinton.
Yeah, it's like a pseudo incumbent advantage. It's like, because they're like I see exactly where you're coming from. Like after an 8-year um, reign, I guess you could say, as president, serving 2 terms, the vice president that served under you like automatically has an advantage going into a Democratic primary. And of course, it really does chalk up to how the media treats it as well, because like how much media coverage did Marianne Williamson get challenging Joe Biden? Like jack shit, or Cenk Uygur, or whoever. Dean Phillips got a little bit, but he was like, because he was a bit more of like an establishment type, and of course, like he was just dragged for even daring to go against Biden. It's like we didn't actually hold a real fucking primary this election cycle, but yeah, I think like competition does need to take place in that regard, because like if Biden ran in 2016, I think he would have had like a bigger advantage than arguably even Hillary at the time, perhaps. But it doesn't mean that like his platform and carry on the Obama presidency legacy would have been what the country needed, or even preferable at the time, because like they're like a candidate like Bernie Sanders would have been much more preferable, like much more what the country needed at the time. So yeah, it definitely depends on how how you do as president. Whether or not going with your VP as your successor or as a successor is, something that's like to be like obvious. Like, oh well, I mean, clearly this is the next in line. This is the next option, so we gotta go with this. Like, I don't like that attitude at all. Like, I agree.
Yeah, it shouldn't be running by assumption.
Yeah. No. Yeah.
Things should be earned.
Yeah.
And Secretary of State too. It's like kind of used to, in the very, very early days of the country, it used to be kind of understood that the Secretary of State would end up running for president. Here we go.
Yeah.
All right. Send that man on the road. I hope you're planning to spend some time in Wisconsin, Michigan, and Pennsylvania over the next several months. Thank you so much.
Yeah, I agree,
Democratic
Morning
Governor.
Joe.
Chicago.
He sees potential.
Chicago, of course.
Chicago, JB's picking up. JB's.
Oh no, Morning Joe is good at talent evaluation. They're not good at policy evaluation, but they know how to bring in the political talent and give an opportunity to show off their skills.
Right.
They have. I mean, Morning Joe have so many conservatives. It's so funny how it's called MSDNC because they have so many conservatives on that network.
Yeah, ironically
it's really like
enough.
Elise Jordan, who used to work in the George W. Bush administration. Like, oh my god.
Yeah.
So I'm there. I'm there to his party.
I hear, Governor, that Chicago is the second best place to be in America in summer. Only behind Minnesota.
I agree.
That's not
All
true.
right,
Number one is
Democratic
Cape
Governor
Cod.
Tim Walz.
Anyway, that's Governor. What's his fucking full name? Tim Walz.
Mm-hmm.
Governor Tim Walz of Illinois. I'm going to bring up the appearance by Bashir too here in a second.
Cool.
But
Yeah.
Tim Walz, man. If you don't like him, then you're not really gonna like anybody.
Yeah.
Now this would be the younger pick. This is the guy. I mean, that's what you want. You want. I'm telling you, man. That's the best choice. Is Walz for sure.
I would
That's
be
by far the best choice.
Yeah, no, definitely. But like, I mean, if they do want to like play for the angle of the age aspect, I mean, I don't think Tim Walz is much older than Kamala Harris. Can you believe she's 59? Like like I could have sworn she was like
she looks good.
in her late 40s, like at the least. Like I was kind of
No.
like,
She's been around for a while.
right. Yeah, just like she looks good for her age. So if they do want to play like into the whole age aspect, like going with a younger white guy would be the way to go. And if so, that leaves her up to Josh Shapiro and Andy Bashir when it comes to the most the higher names being circulated right now. So if anything, like I would be relieved if it was Andy Bashir.
Governor of the state of Kentucky, Andy Bashir. Governor, thanks for being with us.
Kentucky Wasp, baby. Kentucky Wasp right here.
Yeah.
Just like yours truly.
First, your reaction to the news that came down yesterday of President Biden stepping aside. And secondly, do you endorse Kamala Harris at the top of the ticket?
Well, thank you for having me this morning. I want to thank President Biden
Southern.
for being a phenomenal president. He led us out of a pandemic faster than we have ever seen. He showed up in Kentucky after natural disasters and has helped us rebuild. He's helped us build the best economy in our history, building the 2 largest battery plants on planet Earth, the cleanest, greenest recycled paper mill we've ever seen, creating jobs all over Kentucky and providing the funding to run internet access to every home and every business. His decision, I know, was hard, but it's going to secure his legacy that I believe historians are going to say was a...
Who do you think is the better retail politician, Walz or Bashir? Just based on this.
Retail politician. Can you elaborate?
Shaking hands.
Oh.
Shaking hands. Public appearances.
I think Andy Bashir kind of takes the cake when it comes to that.
Really?
Yeah. No, I
really?
mean, because
you think this guy?
Well,
you think this guy's more relatable? This dude is. When it comes, this dude is polished. This very polished.
When it comes to presentation, yes, but when it comes to being more relatable, Tim Walz takes the cake. Like he can.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah,
that's what I'm saying.
Okay, yeah, but in terms of polish, Andy Bashir does come off as very politician.
Yeah, he might be. Right, so exactly. So I think Bashir might have the stronger fundamental skill set, but it's still the experience. You can see the difference in experience. Look at this. Thank you for having me. It's
our history, building the 2 largest battery plants on planet Earth, the cleanest, greenest recycled paper mill we've ever seen, creating jobs all over Kentucky and providing the funding to run internet access to every home and every business. His decision, I know, was hard, but it's going to secure his legacy that I believe historians are going to say was a great presidency. With that, I'm excited to fully endorse Vice President Harris as for the next president of the United States.
He definitely he rehearsed
good president.
Well,
come on, Andy, be real, dude. So this is privilege right here. This is a little consequence of privilege. When you're raised in privilege, whether you realize it or not, you're forced to act. You're forced to put on a happy face because shouldn't you be grateful for the privilege that you are enjoying? So treat your elders, and in this case, this is obviously an elder situation, with, complete respect at all times, even deference. And that's why he's talking this way. This is not how he actually talks. Whereas with Walz, that's how he actually talks.
Yeah,
that's how he actually talks.
I'm actually thinking about it now because there is the underlying concern about Kamala Harris. Basically, I guess because Biden is popular with seniors. Biden's popular with the older demographic, and there is the question mark of, can Kamala bring those voters over? Will that be a thing? And I'm thinking about it now. If she picks someone like Walz, does that appeal to the older generation, because he is one of the older potential VP picks? That might play into the decision making as well. Unless she goes.
I mean, the Democratic Party,
Cooper,
party politics and analytics in voting patterns demand that you pay attention to older voters. Yeah. So I don't think we've got a. So I think when in doubt, the DNC is going to play to older voters. So I think Walz has got a good chance. I like this guy Bashir. fine, but I don't know, man. I'm just
one of the more progressive-ish ones, I guess you could say.
He reminds me, dude. He reminds me so much of so many guys I went to college with, like guys that like they're well intentioned.
Yeah.
But he's not gonna bring any kind of creativity. He's not gonna bring any kind of real skills that enable the party to connect with people who come from ordinary backgrounds. This guy just I just know people from privilege when they have transcended their upbringing, the effect that their upbringing has on their worldview, and this guy has not transcended it yet, and it's too late.
Right,
he's married with kids, he's governor, like he's never going to have that normal, uncomfortable reality bringing experience that you kind of have to shake your out of your privilege when you're young and you don't know any better.
Right.
So
he can probably bring in some independent votes, being from the Rust Belt, being from Appalachia, and he, from what I do understand, like he will go to bat for trans people. Like he's actually gone on the record and stood up and just counters the fucking endless obsessive narratives coming from Republicans and there are hyper obsessed ideological types that generally vote Republican. So I wouldn't mind him being picked, but I would definitely prefer it to be like Tim Walz for sure.
Let's see. Let's give him a chance, though. We're judging.
Sure, and we do still have a few weeks.
Here, so let's give him a chance.
Great president, and the contrast between her and those running on the other side couldn't be clearer. As a prosecutor, as an attorney general, like I used to be, she prosecuted rapists, domestic abusers, stood for victims, and put away those abusers. Now look at the other side, where J.D. Vance calls pregnancy arising from rape.
This is where he shines.
No, it's just plain wrong. He suggests that women should stay in abusive relationships. Listen, a domestic abuser isn't a man, he's a monster, and no one should support anyone having to stay in those relationships. So the vice president is ready. She has my full endorsement. I'm going to do everything I can to support her.
All right, some news this morning here. Full endorsement from Governor Beshear of Vice President Kamala Harris at the top of the ticket.
J.D. Vance
you know very well, Governor, because of your record of being elected and reelected.
I think either one of them would.
In the state of Kentucky, which Donald Trump won in
I think J.D. Vance is such a mistake. We'll talk more about it once we get done with this, but we got to talk about that idiot. I can't believe he got into Yale Law. They must be so embarrassed.
20 by about 26 points.
Born to privilege.
People are very interested in you and your.
You know who else went to Yale Law, by the way? Bill Clinton.
Oh yeah.
Has anyone
that's where he and Hillary met.
Reached out to you from the new Harris campaign about the potential for being the vice presidential candidate, her running mate?
Well, I don't know how that process is going to work. It's flattering to be a part of it. I take it as a compliment, though, to what we've done in Kentucky. What we've done in Kentucky is what we need to do in this country. It's to move beyond the partisanship, the constant arguing, get beyond neighbors yelling at other neighbors just because of the box they checked when they registered to vote. We need to turn the temperature down and recognize that the most important things to our families, like a good job, health care, safe infrastructure, public safety, public education, none of those are partisan at all. And if we work hard every single day to make progress in those areas.
Oh, he said the P word. Partisanship.
Yeah.
How do you feel about partisanship? Because I personally love partisanship.
Yeah.
I mean, in this day and age, you want to work with the Republican Party? Are you serious? It's not about managing conservatism. It's about crushing conservatism. We need to win both houses. It's the first guy, the first VP candidate, the first VP possibility that steps up and says it's not about just winning the presidency anymore. It's about winning Congress too, so that we can undo all the damage of the Supreme Court.
Yeah.
The first VP person to step up and say that will get Kamala's VP spot.
Yeah,
I think. If someone does.
Like the attitude of like, well, let's work together, bipartisanship, kumbaya, let's hold hands, let's play patty cakes with the Republican Party. That cannot fly. That cannot be a thing. Like that attitude cannot be taken into this campaign. It cannot be taken into the vice presidential slot.
Is we help all our citizens, not just Democrats, not just Republicans. And this country's has gotten to a boiling point where we just have to move past it. We've got to move to something better. We've got to get back to being Americans and not members of a political party. I believe that this
What? Come on, man. We're always going to be members of a political party. The country's always going to be at least a little bit divided. When Nixon left the White House, he had a 25% approval rating. Are you kidding me?
Right.
1 out of 4 Americans thought that Nixon should have stayed in office, even though, after everything that he did. So my point is that there will always be a subsection of America that will think that the Democratic Party is evil. Yeah. Just like there will be a subsection of the left that thinks the Republican Party is evil, but the difference is they're not wrong.
The vice president will win this election. She will move us in that direction, and that's why I'm very excited to provide my full endorsement to her.
And so,
you already
Governor,
said
would
that.
you then be open to the possibility of being a running mate to Vice President Harris?
Well, let me first say I love my job. I love serving the people of Kentucky.
Come on, man.
The only way
You're going
I
to
would
go with
consider,
this guy
something other
over who we saw earlier?
Yeah.
Over Tim. We're going to go back and see him just
than this
to give you a
current job
taste.
Is if I believed I could further help my people and to help this country. I also think, whether I'm asked for that or not, that it's important to be out there, contrasting the vice president and those that she is running against. I believe
not to mention,
her record
I think
is one of
if
standing up for people, is
if they
fighting,
picked Andy Beshear, I think his lieutenant governor is a Republican, if I'm not mistaken. So that would mean handing the governorship over to a Republican. Not to mention, So. Just to compare and contrast, we if you wanted to, just to go back to Tim Walz, we can take a look at the interview that he did on Fox.
Yeah,
recently.
I want to blitz through. Yeah, I'm gonna blitz through. He did an interview on Fox. Okay, we'll check that out.
For the American people, and the record on the other side is just fighting for themselves.
So as Vice President, you undoubtedly would be able to help your own people. So are you at least open to
They're
the
giving him a
possibility of
lot
being
more
running against
time, by the
President
way.
Harris?
Well, I think if somebody calls you on that, what you do is at least listen.
yeah.
And I want the American people to know what a Kentuckian is and what they look like, because let me just tell you that J.D. Vance ain't from here. Now, the nerve that he has
J.D.
to
Vance
call the
ain't
people of
from
Kentucky,
here, yep.
Eastern Kentucky, lazy. Listen, these are the hardworking coal miners that powered the Industrial Revolution, that created the strongest middle class the world has ever seen, powered us through 2 world wars.
All right, everyone's kind of seen that.
Yeah, that was a big highlight of that appearance. Yeah.
Now you're telling me that you want that polish
A
over.
lot of Rules Committee is going to get this thing done. As JB said, there's huge excitement. It is that people like J.D. Vance know nothing about small town America. My town had 400 people in it, 24 kids in my graduating
You don't
class,
want that
12 were
instead of
cousins,
Beshear?
And he gets it all wrong. It's not about hate. It's not about collapsing
Yeah.
in. The golden rule there is mind
This
your
is
own damn
perfect.
business. Their policy.
Even just based on looks too, because you already got a good-looking person in Kamala Harris, so this guy's perfect.
Yeah.
This guy's our Cheney,
He's
man.
got drive.
This is our Cheney. This is our Cheney right here.
Yeah,
This is a beautiful choice.
Yes.
This is a beautiful choice if we make it. Hopefully we make the right one. We never do, but we. I keep saying we as if I'm part of the Democratic Party. I mean, I guess I technically am, but I don't feel like I'm part of it for the most part. On a national level, on a local level, I absolutely feel like I'm part of it. But on a national level, I don't. I feel like it's run by people who are very out of touch. Okay, so let's move on to J.D. Vance, the pride of Yale Law School, and Netflix's The Hillbilly Elegy, even though it was a book first. I think of it as a movie because most people probably saw it as a movie and didn't take the time to read the book. Have you heard The Couch Story?
The Couch Story.
Yeah, he put like a rubber glove in a couch and fucked it.
Oh my God, I did hear about that. That was like That was a
Hold on,
real
let me see
thing.
if I can find something on YouTube. Let me see if I can find something on YouTube about it. Yeah.
What?
Yeah. Yeah, it was in his book.
Oh my God. Why would you ever reveal such a thing?
I know, right?
Jesus.
All right, let's see this kid talk about it really quick. Give this kid a chance.
Vance's book for a second. Vance once said that he resented how some liberal elites look down their noses at working class whites. But isn't that kind of what his book does? Looks down at working class white people? In 2016, before he was a politician, Vance published Hillbilly Elegy, a memoir about his family's struggles with poverty and addiction in Appalachia, and it became hugely popular. And the book received a lot of praise at the time, but it also subtly punches down at people living in poverty by implying that they're poor solely because they're lazy, and they should just pick themselves up by their own bootstraps. He writes, people talk about hard work all the time in places like Middletown. You can walk through a town where 30% of young men work fewer than 20 hours and find not a single person aware of his own laziness. Today, Vance has become seen as somewhat of a spokesperson for working class Americans, but the thing is, his book plays into stereotypes about working class Americans and paints them as victims of.
All right, so the story is that Trump's kids talked him into picking J.D. Vance. Trump didn't really want to pick J.D. Vance, but he did.
Yeah,
his kids got him too.
He wanted to go with Doug Burgum because that would have played a lot well with the donors. It would have been Josh Shapiro for VP. Interesting.
Alex,
choice.
welcome.
We'll have to go over him a little bit, but
I know progressives don't want Shapiro because he's a hardcore Zionist and said that the college protesters were equivalent to KKK members.
Yeah,
which is just ridiculous.
And based
so
on
I would personally not like Shapiro, but I understand why people want him because he's from Pennsylvania, and who doesn't want to win Pennsylvania?
Of course, that but and you can already see signs that Kamala Harris is much to the left on the issue of Palestine and whatnot and Israel compared to Biden. Like, she didn't even preside over his speech to Congress, which many Democrats ended up boycotting. So I think that would be a big blow to her campaign if she did end up going with Josh Shapiro. Even though it would be good because you would probably almost be guaranteed to win Pennsylvania. It might hurt you in other places like Michigan. So I don't think it would be a good choice, especially with the current standings, with the way things are regarding just the political energy of the country right now. I mean, the Gaza is still being bombarded by Israel. There's still horror stories coming out. None of that shit has gone away. But yeah, no. To get back to J.D. Vance, yeah, Trump wanted Doug Burgum, like I said, because he plays well more with donors, and he would have brought stability to the campaign. Because before the RNC, there was talk about Trump coming out and toning it down, so to speak, and that didn't exactly happen. He sounded like he always had, he sounded like Trump. He acted like Trump. Trump was being Trump. From what I understand, Trump's sons urged him to pick J.D. Vance because he's a big he's a venture capitalist, plays well with the tech bro crowd, I guess, and who knows? I bet Trump is really pissed. I hear that there's even talk of him reconsidering just having J.D. Vance as his VP to begin with.
I heard that too.
Change him out, possibly.
Yeah, I heard that. I heard that too. It would be interesting to see. I mean, I would totally see Trump doing something like that.
Mm-hmm.
Is changing him out. If he gets desperate. I mean, the momentum is obviously swung. The question is will it last? How long is this shine going to last for the DNC? Will it carry through the election or through the convention into the election? I think if they pick Walz for the VP, then it will. I don't know how long are they going to string people along, do you think, with this VP pick?
Right. Yeah. Like it's to be expected that like
Because what's the convention is in 3 weeks.
yeah. So it's um politically advantageous to keep people on their toes, I guess you could say, and just wait until like just like the RNC, Trump didn't reveal his VP until then. That's when JD Vance was officially picked to be his vice president, his running mate. And I expect the same thing to happen at the DNC. We won't know until the convention comes around.
Yeah, so it's actually 4 weeks away.
Oh yeah,
It's a little less than 4 weeks away.
Yeah, I think it
it's
starts
4 weeks
the
from
19th.
last Monday. God, did they start it late this year? So weird that they scheduled it so late. So she's going to have to make her choice. She's going to have to make her choice before then. She can't string along the American public for 4 weeks.
if I'm not mistaken, I think the Democratic National Convention started like even later in 2020. I think it was like August 26th or some shit like that. I could be wrong,
Weird.
but
Weird.
yeah. Either way, I think like historically the convention has always come after the Republican one. But I'm not like well versed in the history of conventions to begin with, but yeah, that's where I mean everything's leading up to then, so it's gonna be a very interesting few weeks to say the least.
All right, what else you want to talk about? So we covered J.D. Vance. I mean, Kamala, the media shift, the open convention's not happening anymore. We kind of like came to the realization that that wasn't going to be the case last time. What else you got? I mean, Trump playing golf with Bryson DeChambeau. I don't know if you saw that.
What?
Yeah, so golf with Bryson DeChambeau, who won the U.S. Open. It was filmed a while ago, but Trump played with him. And it was funny because you see just how bad Trump is at golf. And, man, is he overweight. My God, does he look terrible, man.
Yeah.
He could have a heart attack.
Yeah.
And save us all the trouble.
Yeah.
So who else was – go ahead.
No, like I've heard the stories about how Trump like just blatantly fucking cheats. Like he'll just like throw other players' balls away or like mismarks his like actual like score or position of the ball. He's just like his drive.
He cheats all the time.
Yeah. They're like specific golf terms. I think I saw Kyle Kalinske tweet about it or something like that. Like, just go over like how embarrassingly like blatant it is. But no,
a bunch of celebrities. A bunch of celebrities have weighed in and told stories about how he would shank his drive and kick it out into the out of the rough into the fairway and say like, "Oh, I found my ball," shit like that. But let's see. So Kamala, are you? I mean, I hear optimism with you about everything that's going on, and I'm fine with the feelings of relief and that we've got a good chance at winning this election now. We being the DNC, which I am technically a part of, I guess, or the party, I guess I'm technically a part of, not the committee itself, but
right.
The relief is that are you at all disappointed that at the end of the day, even if we win, we're still as a country reacting to 2016. We still have not gotten over the damage of 2016. That is still echoing throughout our politics and probably will be until Trump is gone.
Yeah,
like forever.
Trump is like basically forever traumatized the ethos of America. Like it's going to take a very, very long time to recover from Trumpism. And if Kamala Harris pulls out a victory this election, it will likely be a death blow because they have to wait another 4 years, and the reaction is going to be even worse than the reaction to Biden winning in 2020. it's going to take a long time to heal for sure, and not to mention like the relief it is palpable because listening to Kamala speak, like watching a couple of her speeches on the campaign trail, or talking about Joe Biden and just praising him and his legacy and blah blah blah, and being so grateful to have served under him and whatnot. Like even it felt excuse me, it felt very reassuring that we have someone at the head of the ticket that can actually speak, and you're not like cringing and flinching at the off chance that she completely derails or doesn't finish sentences or stumbles over words or gets names wrong or just has a malfunction of some sort. Like that is like a trauma response, because like we've been dealing with that for this entire election cycle so far, having Biden at the top of the ticket and him just not being all there, and the fact that like Kamala is actually not just like speaking properly, but can actually deliver a message and deliver rhetoric and address particular policy issues or lobby attacks like directly at the Republicans. It just address certain issues in a concise way that not only reaches people, but in a way that they understand and can level with. It is beyond refreshing. Like it's a low bar, but that has been what has been like desired by pretty much everybody, like who doesn't want to see Trump get reelected up until this point. Like it is a breath of fresh air, you know, even if it's like a return to, I guess you could say, normalcy,
mediocrity.
Yeah, for real. But like even that is like just so preferable.
It's like a warm blanket. Mediocrity is like a warm blanket in American politics today.
Yeah.
I think, look, I am hopeful that this momentum will carry over.
Yeah.
And that she will win. Mm-hmm. But we'll see where the country's at in a few years, and if more DNC incrementalism really starts to create the change that we need, because we are so far behind in terms of, on so many levels, on so many issues.
Yeah.
And in order to get back to normal, like you're talking about on abortion, we need to not just beat conservatism this November at the executive branch, but we also need to beat the conservatism at the congressional branch.
Yeah.
And both houses of Congress. And I think the big takeaway from this stream for me is whoever between Bashir, Shapiro, and Walz, whoever of the three of those steps up and gets more aggro and says, we need to not just beat conservatism, we need to crush conservatism because we need to win both houses, and then we need to pack the court. Like, that's what I'm waiting for. Who's going to step up and say, we need to pack the court?
Yeah.
Because we need to override the court. I don't care about the arguments against it. All I care about is winning.
Yes.
And whoever gets that, brings that male intensity, and I didn't see that from Bashir. Shapiro, I really hope they don't pick. But I really like the governor from Minnesota, Tim Walz, and I think he would bring that kind of folksy, firm, but tough, but fair kind of energy to the ticket. So hopefully they make the right choice, and that's what we get out of him is, like, you want your vice president to kind of be a pit bull, especially if your president's a woman. A woman, whether you like it or not, cannot get pissed off in public and still be taken seriously. It's just not within the ethical limitations of feminine rhetoric. Hopefully we'll get to a place someday where that is okay. But the truth is that the only person who can get pissed off in public and still be taken seriously is a straight white man.
Right.
And that would be nice to have as a weapon, but in the case of Tim Walz, it would be more like a tool. And that's cool with me, man. That's cool with me if they go that route.
Yeah, he would be a perfect pick, and it already goes to show. I mean, just the fact alone that Trump and the Republicans are having a huge shit fit, a total meltdown over Biden dropping out, endorsing Kamala.
It's amazing to me that they're freaking out. It's amazing to me that they're freaking out and that they're this worried. If I were them, I mean, they probably wouldn't be as worried if they had put a strong VP up there.
Yeah,
if they had a strong VP, they probably wouldn't be worried. But they're like, oh shit, we just wasted our convention on going after Biden and not picking a strong VP. After all that buildup, after all of that kind of media frenzy over the course of the last few months of who's Trump going to pick for VP. I mean, that was the conversation on conservative media for the last 10 months.
Yeah.
So now to just waste that bullet with JD Vance is just tragic for them, but good for the rest of us.
It really is. And really because it really goes to show too, because the only things that they are lobbing against Kamala is, wow, look at this compilation of her laughing. She laughs. Isn't that so kooky? Isn't she weird? Or, the fact that she, I didn't know that Josh Shapiro was a Zionist. Apologize. I don't think. There's a lot more to it than just winning Pennsylvania, which
it's all good. Alex, you're not the only one that doesn't do their homework. Believe me, man. So there's a lot of times on this show where I'm like, oh man, I probably should have read up on that a little bit more. I mean, you can't read enough. You can't study enough these days.
No kidding.
Go ahead, Stat Pat. What were you saying?
There's such a complexity to all of this. It's and we've talked about in other streams too. It's just about what decisions get made and how what consequences of those decisions, what they'll lead to. Because there are just so many possibilities. But now I feel like we're on a lot more of a clear and direct path with Kamala hitting the ground running, because it is driving conservatives crazy. It really all they have, I was talking about the laughing compilation or whatever, or the tired tropes of classic misogyny and racism, sexism, and shit. It's just
you knew they were going to go there.
Yeah,
you knew they were going to make the Jezebel play. You knew that they were going to do it. They're trash. Expect it.
Yeah, where the GOP leaders came out and begged, stop talking about Kamala Harris's race. It's not going to get us anywhere. It says a lot that not only did they anticipate it, but they also understand it's going to fucking hurt them, and that it's inevitable for a lot of Republican senators and congressmen to those kind of attacks are what's going to be lobbied at her first, because they don't really have anything to go off of. She's it's insane. It's insane. The fact that Trump is really upset because we spent all this money and we wasted all this time. He's just literally throwing a shit fit, throwing a tantrum because they expected Biden to stay in. So it's let's just go with JD Vance, and all of a sudden, Democrats pull this ultimate power chess move that just totally reshapes the game, and they're scrambling, and it shows. It's amusing to watch. If anything, even though I'm not the biggest Kamala Harris fan, I do think that she is far more to the left of Biden, who already had a pretty progressive presidency. So there's definitely a lot of potential for a potential Kamala Harris presidency, but if she's causing them to melt down this hard and just scramble and just throw their entire messaging and marketing way the fuck off, I'm I welcome it. Like I like more of this, please. Like let's see.
So
where
let's
this goes.
take a look at some of the right-wing media desperation here with what's her name, Ingraham.
Left their old party and are now voting for Trump. Latina Brown and Madeline Brame. Madeline, good to see you. We'll start with you. You know, she's been vice president for almost 4 years.
Yeah.
Obama was president for 8 years as a black man. So is playing the race card here really a smart strategy?
You know,
playing the
thank you
race
so
card?
much, Laura, for having me once again on your show. It is absolutely the most silliest thing that they could possibly do, because most African Americans know that the illegals' benefit card is worth more than our worthless black card. So why would we care about who Kamala Harris is, about her race or her gender? We care about the policies that she has pushed with Joe Biden for the past 3.5 years. We are struggling. We can't even make ends meet.
I know.
You talked about retirement earlier. I have to work till I'm 70 years old in order to get my full retirement. So, you know, no, Black America is not supporting Kamala Harris. All right. Her color has nothing to do with the failed policies that she has.
I love how they just found some Democrat that turned a Trump voter. She has no position of note. She's
Who the hell is this? Like, come on.
Champion and stood on for 3.5 years.
Now, people have called Kamala the DEI.
Fox News is like a child. Look, Mom, look, I found an example where you're wrong. You're wrong.
For real. No, and it's like...
But Democrats, they don't like that.
No, like, okay, so the buzzword of the day, right? Like, they're all about, oh, she's a DEI pick. This is just DEI being weaponized and whatnot. It's like, are you guys stupid? Are you guys really resorting to, oh, she was only picked because she's black and she's a woman? She was the vice president for the past 4 fucking years. For crying out loud. Like, what? She's the logical choice.
The
like,
point, if she were a DEI hire, she would not have been vice president. If it was like a straight white guy as VP and then she got picked instead of the VP, then that would have made for a good argument that she was a DEI hire. But no, the fact that if I have any issues with Kamala Harris becoming the nominee, it's that it just didn't happen at the convention.
Yeah.
That's my only issue with it, is that it should have been a process that took place in front of America. And once again, the party of missed opportunities, it's a missed opportunity rhetorically. It's a missed opportunity to communicate with the American public about policy. But let's do a little bit of arithmetic here. Maybe the Democratic Party doesn't want to talk about policy in any kind of detailed way, because then the voters might understand that they keep settling for incrementalism when they could be actually advocating for structural change.
Sure. And what is refreshing, though, is, like, I mean, because a lot of people tend to miss it. Like, because in the recent days, since Kamala's hit the ground running and campaigning and whatnot, like, she does list off, like, the accomplishments under the Biden administration, lowering drug prescriptions and lowering the cost of drug prescriptions and the student loan debt forgiveness, as well as, like, many other things, like the infrastructure. There's a lot of accomplishments that they, are championing, like, finally, like just like hammering it home. And even like after she praises Biden and his record and whatnot, she does go on to say, like this is what we're going for. This is what we want to do. These are the policies we want to get passed. This is what we want to do to counter the GOP agenda. And she's actually, like, openly talked about Project 2025. Like, Biden hasn't done that yet. She is putting forth messaging to that basically we've been calling for a while, like calling upon, like, the danger of the GOP and, like, the Supreme Court decisions and whatnot. And it's better late than never, I suppose. It's been a long time coming. And just to get back to the DEI thing, It's just remarkable to me, like a lot of like conservative pundits and whatnot that they're clearly flailing because their messaging is just completely thrown off. I love how right wing criticism of DEI comes down to, oh, what happened to meritocracy? People should be hired based on their merits and whatnot, and this implies. And I don't even think they understand this because they're too fucking stupid and racist to understand it. It basically means that they think that black people and women automatically hold no merit whatsoever.
It means that if a woman or a minority ever achieves a position of power, they did so because they were a woman or a minority. They didn't because they didn't get it because they earned it.
Exactly.
They think it's impossible for a woman or a minority to legitimately earn a
Bingo.
Position of power.
Bingo.
An elected position.
Bingo.
That's what they think.
Yeah.
It's that simple. They're
it's
simple.
So transparent.
Don't ever see that. People get lost in the premise of my YouTube channel. Is people get lost in, how could people be so crazy? They love Trump, or how could they be so stupid? And maybe there's more to them, and I've got to study them and listen to them. It's like, no, they're not complicated.
They're not complicated.
They're not complicated. They don't. They might not be stupid. Only, I think the word stupid is a little irresponsible. But here's what I know about their cognition, and according to one of my original scripted essays, they don't think enough, and because of their lack of education and life experience, they don't know how to think. Yeah. And by they don't know how to think, I mean they don't know how to think critically. Yeah. They don't know how to ask the right questions.
Exactly.
They don't know what the important questions are to figure out whether or not someone is manipulating them like Trump does, like all GOP politicians do. And to be fair, the Democratic politicians do it too. It's just in a much different way.
Yeah, I think even like Democrats shouldn't expect, just the response to Kamala Harris becoming the front runner, the candidate, so to speak, just to be so weak, because conservatives all they have is, oh, she's a woman herder, therefore sex object. See, like just some of the memes and the images I've seen just been like abhorrent, just disgusting. Like it's completely objectifying her. The only reason she's there is because something sexual favors swept away at the top. Just
Willie Horton.
Just gross. Yeah, no, and like I mean, since then, even then, like the thing with Willie Brown or whatever, like Attorney General, Senator, Vice President, and now the front runner for the Democratic Party to be president.
Yeah, she's got the resume. I mean, she's got the resume. Like, I don't know. I mean, I don't necessarily like her. Definitely don't like a lot of what she stands for.
I don't like a lot of Democrats.
But I don't like a lot of Democrats.
Yeah.
And there are very few Democrats that I actually like. And usually it's just based on personality. It's not necessarily that I like their politics necessarily. I don't think there are any national political figures that actually have my politics. Right. Which is, it is what it is. It's probably why we're doing the show.
No,
it's because
for real.
I don't have any. It's because if I did have someone like that, I would try to go work for them.
Yeah, no, exactly. Like, seriously, so many leftist shows online would not really even exist if they didn't see that there are no leftist, like major leftist figures, like in what's supposed to be the left party, which when it comes to progressives and members of it, they're few and far between. At least to the standards of I guess most leftists that have shows and whatnot. But yeah, no. I guess.
Do you have any chats you want to respond to on your end, and then we can wrap it up?
No, nothing on my end. The only other thing I did want to mention, Biden gave what is essentially, I guess, a concession speech, like an actual address to the nation about his decision to step down and quote pass the torch to.
Do you want to watch it real quick?
Not really. I watched it earlier.
No,
there's
okay.
he
I actually think we do a really good job of not doing too much video, of not being too reliant on stuff. And everyone's seeing the Biden thing. But go ahead and give us your final thoughts on the Biden speech.
So I mean, it was a little bit bittersweet, but you can tell like it's. I'm so fucking glad that he stepped aside because he was still just grasping to the teleprompter for dear life, if that makes sense. But there was one thing that he said to me, that stuck out to me, and that was his intention of because he said I intend to round out these last 6 months as president and do my job, but he also said that he intends on pursuing Supreme Court reform, and that's a pretty big deal. If he means that, and he tries to pursue something like that, like whether it's established term limits or a code of ethics or both, I really, really hope we see some big movement on that. Because to include that in what is basically like I said, like a concession speech and just passing up, like stepping down, not running for re-election, to include that in that is a big deal because this was a primetime address, so to speak, and to include.
Do you know why he did that?
Tell me.
There's an historical precedent for that. So when LBJ decided that he was not going to run for re-election in 1960. Mm-hmm. He said that I'm going to focus the rest of my time in the White House to getting us out of Vietnam. And, of course, he failed.
Of course.
And then he died 5 years later. So Biden's in a similar situation. And he said that if basically this means I can do one thing or focus the country's attention on one thing before I go, and that's what I'm going to do. So the thing I'm waiting for now that we finally got Biden out, is it's not good enough to beat conservatism. We have to crush conservatism by winning both houses of Congress so that we can pack the court, baby.
Yeah.
Pack that court. Pack. The Green Bay Packers are the team of America for the next 8 years until we get that court packed, baby.
Yeah.
America's team for the next 8 years.
just based on name alone, absolutely. I really hope something does come out of that for sure. Last thing, I guess Netanyahu's addressing Congress and whatnot is rather pathetic that he has more security detail than the president does or anybody running for president and whatnot. It's just appalling, So this, I mean, it goes without saying. The fact that he is in America and still breathing right now is a travesty to the world. This is a war criminal. This is a guy responsible for the genocide of 2.2 million Palestinians, starving them to death. At least. Minimum 40,000 have been slaughtered, and that's just a figure from March. Estimates very recently have the number as high as 186,000 Palestinians killed. And the fact that this motherfucker is addressing Congress right now, at the Capitol, is fucking embarrassing, to put it very lightly.
Right.
But
yeah.
Crazy past few days since Sunday, to say the least.
Yeah, and we will be back Monday night with more Left Coast Live. But until then, we are reminding you that you don't get change in America by asking nicely.
You guys have a good night.
Thank you for joining us this evening. Have a wonderful evening, y'all.
Thank you.